Aloha guys, welcome to Notes from the Studio. This is our very first episode here, sitting on my little back porch. So I want to welcome you to a series that I've been wanting to do for a long time now. This isn't going to be a tutorial series or a highly edited series either. This is just going to be a simple place where I can slow down at least once a week and reflect on some wins, some challenges, and just share with you what's been on my mind. And so if you are someone who's interested in art, business, creativity, you know, want to join me in the process of building a meaningful life, feel free to join me. So yeah, let's take a look at the notes for this week. So I'm outside, so you're gonna have to bear with me with the chickens and the traffic. All right, so when for the week, I learned how to create professional invoices via Shopify. Now this may seem kind of like a small thing, but for professionalism and just streamlining my process and making everything like smooth and creating a secure checkout for my clients, people who I'm onboarding onto my wholesale system, this is super important. And I like to geek out on little things like that. They seem like little things, but they're really big things in the long run. So yeah, sending invoices definitely matters. It helps create a smoother customer experience and just really helps me keep everything organized in one place. Before I was making all of my invoices by hand, not by hand, but by scratch on Canva. Like Canva is the app that I use pretty much every single day. And although it's very beautiful and it looks professional, but running a creative business is more than just aesthetics. We're really trying to be smarter with your time and more, in the end, profitable. Just really streamlining processes. That's a really big deal. So doing that on Shopify helps me. And when I'm making online sales, it's all there. When I'm doing markets, I have my POS system connected also with Shopify, and now the wholesale. So everything exists on one dashboard, and I'm not having to hop around in multiple areas to see what my income looks like. So very important, very big win for me for the week. It's funny how like something so simple as that can just really make my day and really make my week, but it excites me, and it means that I'm still learning. I have a lot to learn, and my business is growing. So that's really exciting. It's a really big win for the week. One of my biggest challenges this week was a term I learned actually, because I was like, what are these feelings that I'm feeling? There has to be some psychology terms for it, right? And so I did learn there is a term for it. It's called expectation violation. So expectation violation. Let's see. Definition. It's when you step into something believing it's going to be one experience, and then halfway through you realize it's something completely different. Now, I do consider myself someone who is highly adaptable, and I am pretty good with change. But when it comes to the scope being much bigger, like the risks being much higher, that's when I have a problem with it. All right, so the story went to a project expecting the scope to be one thing, and then as the assignment unfolded, the expectations just shifted. I'm trying to do my very best to explain this without having to say too much. I'm not going to name any names, not going to talk about the client, not going to talk about the exact situation, because they might be watching, and I'm not trying to drag people through the mud. So, um, moving on. Uh, like I said, it wasn't so much about the work itself. It was more so that the expectation and the scope of what was originally talked about was not at all what the partner wanted, what the main client wanted. So there's a middle person in between, and reading the scope and the conversation with that person. And then once I finally spoke with the owners, um, they hit me with a really hard curveball and telling me something completely different of what they're wanting and what they're expecting from me. And I'm just like, that's not what I prepared for at all. And it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just that I was not mentally prepared for that. So my mind map between what I thought was going to happen versus what it all of a sudden shifted into was no longer the reality. So one thing I've learned about myself is that clarity in projects, especially in work, is one of my core values. Um, I like understanding the objective. I like knowing where we're headed to. I like knowing where the goal is. If I'm just like playing ball, I go in and I'm like ready to play football, and all of a sudden you want to play tennis, then the rules have changed, and or soccer, and I don't know where the goal post is at, so I don't know how to help you get there because I don't know where it's at to begin with. So that was really frustrating for me. So yeah, when changes kind of just unexpectedly happen, it takes me a moment to calibrate, and just answers were kind of being expected of me right in that very moment. And again, it's not that I'm incapable of doing what they were asking for. It's not what I was prepared for, and for the conversation. And ultimately, in the end, it's not what I wanted to do. So it wasn't in line. So that really sucked because I was excited about it, um, from the original conversation, but it fell through. So it sucks. But it's okay. Life goes on. That's not the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last. So it's the gap. The gap is where the frustration lives. So my lesson from that is still to prepare thoroughly. The lesson isn't like to not prepare, because I felt really good about what I had. Preparation is still valuable, but I am going to hold expectations much more loosely. Um, this is an ongoing thing. I feel like it's very easy to say these things out loud, and in theory, you're like, yeah, we're just going to do it. But when the stakes are higher and you're excited about a project and all these things are pointing in one direction, you're hyped, you have already created this amazing reality in your head, and just the floor drops from underneath you. It's no longer that. So yeah, I gotta like learn to hold the expectations a little looser. If things change, it's okay. The floor moves from underneath you. Um, so yeah, maybe you've experienced this yourself with work or with relationships or friendships, even a client yourself, right? Or maybe you've done this. Don't do that. uh, but yeah, but that was a challenge. That was a challenge for the week that happened earlier on in the week. Um, we are now at the end of the week. Beautiful Aloha Friday. You're probably seeing this on a Sunday, so happy Sunday. But yeah, my nerves and my emotions are much more well calibrated from the beginning of the week to now. So yeah, the challenge is learning how to move quickly and let go of the picture that you had in your head and start working with what's right in front of you, and just keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Don't get fixated, don't get hyper fixated. And these are words to myself. Maybe they resonate with you, and this helps you. So, yeah. All right. Let's move on to what I'm creating. So you probably noticed the blue, beautiful blue panel behind me. I've done just a, very messy little ultramarine blue acrylic wash over this beautiful wood panel. And my plan is that I'm going to paint a Pacific green sea turtle. I have the sketches for it already. Um, I've sanded down the wood panel, I've adjusted it in clear, and I've toned it down in blue. And so the sketches are done. I have another one, a second panel. Um, my mind, I'm, my mind can create things faster than I can physically create them, obviously, right? But so I'm just kind of in between of like, should I paint a second turtle to accompany this one? So it's like a diptych. There's a little scene going on with it together. But I've been really wanting to paint some landscapes of Kauaʻi, specifically this one. Uh, just right up the road. I live off of Kaloa Road in Kauaʻi, and just the terrain that I see with the mountains, and like after it rains, the grass is just like this hyper bright, like vivid, rich green color. It almost even looks like it's like glowing, um, even during the day and night. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. But there are these red cows, and again with the light, like those two complementary colors together, just looks so gorgeous. And I really I'm gonna paint it. I just don't know if to paint it next. So internal battles, but one step at a time. This is what I'm gonna do for this one. I will probably end up painting a second turtle just so it has little friends together to live together. So yeah. Something else. Let's see. Next segment is reflection. So I've titled this weekly artist vlog series Notes from the Studio, because I was thinking about the studio um, as a concept. So I am originally from Texas, and when I lived in Texas, I was I lived with my parents, and I was painting in their house, but I had a little studio space, so out of my room, and so that was the studio. But then I moved to Bali, and in Bali I did have my own studio space, and then I've traveled to Dubai, and so like the idea of the studio doesn't have to be a physical place per se for me, because I've had to be adaptable, and sometimes the studio for me is in my bed. Sometimes the studio for me is on the plane. Sometimes the studio for me is in a coffee shop or in a co-working space, because that's what is being offered, or that's just what I have access to in the moment. So not having a physical space should not deter you or anyone from creating. Um, and I say this to you, but I'm really, talking to me, because there is some work I wish I want to paint much larger, but I have a very small little space right now still. Um, and I have a tattoo studio, but just to really have a private studio to paint much larger work is more favorable. But because I don't, I'm telling myself I cannot make that an excuse as to why I'm not creating the work that I want to create. So Notes from the Studio is more of what's in your mind. It's wherever you're creating from. So maybe next week's video I won't be sitting here, maybe I'll be somewhere else. It just depends on what's going on with me that week, and whatever's the most convenient to get these videos out, because I want to be consistent in creating. So yeah, no more excuses. Like I said, this is a series I've been wanting to do for some time now, and I just got to do it. And this is me doing it. Like, I'm not dressed up all cutesy or whatever, and my makeup is end of day makeup, and I'm getting bitten up by mosquitoes, and I'm okay with that. Because no more excuses, y'all. All right. I want to share with you what I've been listening to. So I listen to a lot of productivity, self-help, self-awareness, um, podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, on and on and on. But in between that noise, something that just really helps me come back down and feel grounded is this one podcast that's like on the top of my Spotify, and it's Life Wisdom by Words of Taoism. So this podcast, the narrator's voice, the person who creates, this podcast is also the narrator, and it's just very soothing, very relaxing. It's still self-help and productivity in a way, but it's more, it's Taoism, so it's more deeper reflection of yourself. So when I start to get agitated with life or process of things, I revert back to this when I'm driving, or when I come home and I'm cooking, or before bed, and I need to just like ground myself and come back down from the high of the day. So I offer this to you if this is something that you have never heard about, or you need a tool to help ground you and to help you get out of your head. This is something that I do. So that's something I've been listening to for some time now. I really like them. I'm sure that they're on other streaming platforms, but I just listen on Spotify. So I'll include it in the description in this video, so you can check it out. And the last segment of this video that I want to share with you is my current favorites. So you might have noticed them. These cute little babies. These cute little succulent plants. My boyfriend bought them for me at the beginning of the week because he saw how emotionally wrecked my nervous system was, and he was like, he's super helpful. He's like, he took me on a plant date to Home Depot to buy these little guys so that I can focus on someone and something else other than my crazy thoughts that are making me run circles and hamster wheel. And it's very helpful because since Monday I've already seen them grow. So it's really cute. So this little guy, or girl I should say, I named her Blake. I named her Blake because I chose her because out of all the succulents of this style, she had the prettiest little flowers budding up from the top, and her little stem, like, she's just so lively. When I put her outside the first day, she like belly danced her way to the sun. Shakira could have been another good name for her, but I didn't name her Shakira. I named her Blake Lively, because I was just like, you are so lively. And I don't follow Blake Lively personally. I've never seen a movie that she's been in, or I couldn't tell you what movie she's been in. I'm not a fan of her exactly, but just the name, that's exactly what came to mind. And I like Blake because it's ambiguous. So this is Blake, a little cutie, and these ladies over here, my little cactus mix party. These are the mean girls. There's 4 of them. The tallest one, with her little crown, is the queen bee. So this is Lindsay Lohan. This is Katie. And then we have a kind of indie. Well, I know this little one over here. No, this one, the little fuzzy one. To me, she's a little ditzy. So she's Karen. And this is Gretchen Williams. She's a brunette. And this is Regina George, because She's very fierce. She's a little envious of Miss Lindsay Lohan over here. But yeah, this is my Mean Girls. So the Mean Girls and Blake Lively are friends, and Lindsay Lohan has been going off on one. Her little crown has really grown, and so has Regina George. Her little spikes over here, she's getting crazy. And I think today, I mean, I could say honestly, she's gotten fuzzier. But yeah, these are my new little babies. That's my favorite of the week. So, this is the first episode of Notes from the Studio. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What was your biggest win or challenge of the week? If you want to share that, you don't have to get too personal. It could be something small or big. You can be as elaborate as you want, or not comment at all. But yeah, so if you enjoyed spending all the green parrots are going back home for the night. So yeah, if you enjoyed spending some time together today in the studio, I'd love to have you back with me next week. So if you want to subscribe so that you don't miss next week's Notes from the Studio, please do so. But until then, keep creating, live with intention, don't hold so tightly onto expectations, whatever that might be. Just be a little freer.